Hello Pisces, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and these are going to be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of March 2022. And I must start off by wishing you all a happy birthday, happy Pisces season. I hope you're all having a great time celebrating whatever that looks like to you, connecting with your own energy. This is your time to shine, so I really hope that you're enjoying and making the absolute most of that. I've got your 3 oracle cards here. We're going to pull some tarot and clarifiers and finish off with some affirmations, just seeing how we can help you make the absolute most out of the month of March and everything it has to offer. I also took some time before pulling any of these oracle cards to sit down quietly and channel some information, so I'll share those with you first. And as always, just keep in mind that this reading is general in nature, so not necessarily all of the information that comes through will pertain to you specifically. So I highly recommend you take anything and everything that does resonate for you. Keep an open mind and hold on to anything that you think might be of value moving through the month, and simply release the rest. So I must say, as I sat down and I was grounding myself to begin channeling your energy, Pisces, there were 2 things that I noticed before I even started channeling any kind of information. And the first thing was that I was very acutely aware of my heartbeat. So the sensation of my heart beating in my chest, hearing my heartbeat like in my ears. And it wasn't in a really strong way, like, you know, when you're anxious or when your blood pressure is high. Like, it was a very calm kind of experience, but so I don't know if the heart or your heartbeat might be something that's relevant to you. And then the phrase that came through was also, I can feel your heartbeat. So I don't know if that's maybe an experience for you, something to do with a song lyric. I'm not sure. And then the other thing that I had was like nervous excitement. And so, yeah, it's like an uplifting, energetic kind of nerves and excitement, like anticipation almost. So it wasn't negative or low or associated with any kind of like fear or anything heavy necessarily. It was more like, the only thing I can really describe it as is it's almost like the anticipation and excitement of riding a roller coaster when you're going up the hill. And the more that you ascend slowly to the top, the higher you get, the closer you get to the peak of the hill before you drop, how the anticipation and excitement builds, because it's like you're working up to something and you know what's coming, and it's going to be like an exhilarating kind of ride. And so I'm not sure if that's the energy you're currently in, or you've got kind of something on the horizon that you're excited about, but that was kind of a neat energy to connect with. And so in terms of your channeled messages, the first thing that came through was snagglepuss. And so I thought that was really funny because I've obviously heard the word before, but I didn't really know what it meant. So I ended up Googling it, and snagglepuss is actually like an old cartoon character. It's like a pink cat. And once I saw the image, then I recognized, like, I haven't had a huge amount of exposure. I don't know much about the character, but I know he's a little bit bougie. He's very expressive. So I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about. Maybe that has some significance to you. If it piques your interest, maybe Google it and see if you connect to that in some way. The next thing that came through was the phrase giving way. And so I got the sense of, you know, not just letting go of something for the sake of letting go and just releasing yourself of it, like, but it being twofold. So it's almost like something is on its way in, that things need to be cleared out in order for space to be made. So it's not just like letting go, when this could be in any kind of sense. It could be like physically, like letting go of items, it could be people, relationships, it could be beliefs, however that makes sense for you. But the sense was it's not just getting rid of it simply to lighten your load. It's like very purposeful in terms of, in order to bring this new thing in or connect with these new things, space needs to be made. And so it's kind of like trading out the old to make room for the new that's already. So if I don't know if that makes sense, if there's something that is coming in for you, something that you're aware of, something that you're preparing for, and you're kind of letting go of anything that is going to prevent you from being able to anchor that in, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, that's something to keep in mind. And the next thing that came through was foundational success, or foundation to success. So you could very well be in a place where you've been trying to, you know, lay the foundation for a successful life, and perhaps you have you've experienced some success in doing that. Maybe you feel as though you are getting yourself to a stable point, or maybe you've kind of honed in on a path forward and you've started putting the wheels in motion in terms of like laying that foundational or doing that foundational work to lay the foundation that you can build upon. And maybe you're feeling as though that's either a main area of focus or something that you're currently having success in doing. I don't know that, and that's also open for interpretation, however it applies to you. The next thing that came through was Yellow Brick Road. So of course that could have a connection to the Wizard of Oz if that's something that's important to you. And then also it made me think of the Elton John song. So I'm not sure, however that resonates for you. And then the next thing was Gravitational Pull. And so that really stood out to me because it's not just a pull or an attraction, like a simple everyday kind of thing. Like, to say gravitational pull means that it's got some weight, it's got some heft. Like there's some major energy at play, and it's a very significant feeling. And so maybe it could be something you're already experiencing or something that you're yet to experience in the month of March, but maybe just keep in mind anything that you're feeling really, really significantly drawn to, anything that's becoming a major theme, anything that you're thinking about a lot, maybe wanting to pursue. And that could be in any area of your life, but that could be the key for you in terms of, your own inner work or the path that you're on, is to maybe just be aware of those things that you're feeling like that really intense gravitational pull to, and giving yourself the opportunity to connect with those things because they could very well have some kind of importance as you move along your path. And the next thing that came through was Fancy Feast. So you might have cats, you might be a cat lover. That might be a particular brand that's on your mind for whatever reason, I'm not sure. The next thing that came through was the phrase elementary, dear Watson. And so, of course, you might have some connection to Sherlock. That might be a phrase that you use quite often. It might kind of be a metaphor for whatever you're dealing with, like like in terms of your approach or your understanding of the world around you, however that resonates. The next thing that came through is Astoria. And so I have absolutely no idea what that was. I Googled it, and it looks like there are a couple of restaurants locally called Astoria, and it has some kind of connection to some very wealthy individual. I don't know, maybe from like the 1800s or something. Anyways, he had a lot of money and he left some kind of major legacy behind. I have no idea. I didn't research too deeply into it, but if that resonates for you, if that piques your interest, maybe look into that. The next thing that came through is Pleading the Fifth. And so that kind of gives me the impression that you might want to hold your cards close to your chest this month. It might be something that you're drawn to do and to overcome and maybe like let your guard down, or it might be, being a little bit more selective about how much you share with the people around you. Like maybe there is some kind of tension or conflict that you might be running into, and it's a matter of, not wanting to give too much information in case that ends up being used against you, or maybe someone that you're interacting with doesn't have your best interests at heart, or it could just be, like a lighthearted, joking kind of thing, a way of getting out of answering uncomfortable questions. If, however that resonates for you, it kind of made me laugh a little bit. And the next thing was the phrase grace under pressure. And that could be an energy that you're in or you're trying to connect with. Maybe you've got a lot on your plate, or your energy is kind of scattered and you're trying to balance things out gracefully, not letting them see you sweat kind of thing. I think there was also an old television show or sitcom with that name. I don't know, maybe that has significance to you. And then the one thing that stood out specifically was grace, the word grace, and even like the name Grace. So if that has significance to you, wonderful, however that applies. And then the last thing that came through was Jamaica. So that might be a destination, somewhere you're thinking about traveling. There might be some kind of opportunity that comes up. Maybe it's a place that's special to you. It could be, a connection to the food, the music, the culture. So yeah, that's it for your channeled messages, Pisces. So we'll get into your reading. We'll start with your oracle cards. So your first one is Anna, grandmother of Jesus. So it says seeding the light, laying foundations, and divine plan. And then we have new life. Let's see if I can prop this up here. Oh, it's not wanting to stay. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, and finally we have the blue flame, and it says spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. So already, actually, this is really kind of interesting because even the energy, the vibe here from this blue flame, and then Anna, grandmother of Jesus, it's got like a similar kind of like shape and color too. So this could very well be an important month for you in terms of it could be a fresh start. It could be an opportunity to see something from a new perspective. It could be not only in relationship to yourself, but to others, your place in the world, your purpose, what you have to offer. And it kind of has the general vibe of like coming into a new level of understanding or awareness. So that could apply literally in any area of your life. But specifically the new life card, it's kind of like the energy of spring. So you're coming out of the cold winter, hibernation, when things kind of die away and stagnate, and it's a period of kind of like darkness and rest. And it's kind of the time to step back and rehabilitate from everything we've been through, gather our energy, gather our resources, start considering what our plans are, what we want to start taking action on when the energy aligns. And then new life is springtime. So, the weather is warmer, everything starts to thaw, new life begins to bloom. So it's basically saying that this month you could find, so not only March is kind of lining up with spring and the beginning of spring, at least we hope, milder weather and all the opportunity that comes with that, but it's also kind of a breath of fresh air, right? It's invigorating. It helps us connect to passion and joy and excitement. It's a more lively time full of opportunity, and it can also have to do with birthing a new project, a new idea, new perspective, new insight, and kind of having the stage set and the environment be really conducive to growth and change, and planting those seeds, and or starting seeing something that has been in the works or has been kind of dormant start to take shape. And it can even be the stuff that's already on the go being reinvigorated, like a new energy. It's kind of like a revival of what is, and the opportunity for new growth as well. And so that's a really wonderful energy because there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of promise, and it's kind of, like a spring, like a breath of fresh air, just, the opportunity to kind of release the darkness, release the heaviness, the waiting time is kind of over, and you're coming into a period where you can start taking action, and the stage is kind of set for that to begin moving forward and to start enjoying more of your life, which is kind of nice because in Pisces season, like, it is your time. It's your time to focus on you and your energy, your gifts. It's all supported in this season. So to be able to tap into that and really use that potential in your favor, it's like, just get on that wave and ride it, right? And so with Anna, grandmother of Jesus, the interesting thing is this, so you could have a connection to religion. That might be something that's important to you. And it doesn't have to be the case, but this is really speaking to our ancestors, and not only our direct ancestors, but the generations that have come before us, and the skills that they had, the work that they put in to build the foundation for us, right? And how they have set us up to be who we are, to experience the life that we're in right now, and to be able to connect with our own individual gifts. And so it's basically saying everybody has a unique gift. Everybody came here to play a role in this divine unfolding of life. And everybody is valuable. Everybody has worth. Nobody is more valuable than another, regardless of if they're taking action and showing up on the world stage or just in a more limited capacity or like a smaller framework. It doesn't matter. And even within groups of people, we all came here for a reason. And allowing ourselves to connect with our purpose and to fulfill that and to show up, it's not only honoring the generations that came before us that made that possible and made it possible for us to be where we are right now, but it's also going to have a huge impact on the people around us and the generations to come. And so it's about being willing to put in the work to create a new world, a new reality, new opportunities for generations to come, and being invested in that and recognizing the importance, recognizing the responsibility that we have, even if we won't be around to see the result of that, right? Even if we won't be able, even if we can't grasp what kind of impact that might have, or we think that we're so small that we couldn't possibly influence anything in a big way. It's basically saying like we're all meant to work together and fulfill our purpose for a greater plan. And yeah, it's being dedicated and willing to do that. Even if you don't get to, necessarily reap the rewards, right? You don't know how that's going to turn out. You don't know how it's going to influence, and you're not going to be around to enjoy it. So even something as simple as the environment, like protecting the environment for generations to come. You're not going to be here in another 100 years, but people are still going to be here, and they're going to be dealing with the consequences of decisions that are made now. And so it's just having that consciousness that everything is connected and being responsible about, sharing your light, sharing what you came here, like your gifts, what you came here to do, whether it's on a small or large scale, and knowing that you have value and worth, but then also being able to recognize that other people do as well. And it's kind of like, so it could be something spiritual. It could be bringing in new energy. It could be setting a good example for those to come, treating people with love and kindness. That can manifest in any way. But yeah, it's kind of the bigger picture of why we're all here. It's not just coincidental. We're not just here to, live and mess around and die. There's something bigger going on, whether we can grasp it or understand it or not. And so it's kind of a neat card. And the fact that it came out with the blue flame, which is spontaneous awakening, activation, integration, it's basically saying like, this could be tied to this new lease on life, this new energy, this kind of like, maybe a new perspective, and maybe what you're doing, maybe the way that this is expressed, this kind of like springtime, and invigorating energy and your purpose, like maybe that's what this is all about. And maybe in allowing yourself to connect more deeply with yourself and whatever your purpose is, and to just kind of, it's also connecting with people from on a frequency of love, right? And like conscious responsibility for the collective, right? But yeah, so anyways, the blue flame, chances are that it could be something tied specifically to these energies, but it could also just be something that you encounter this month, a decision that you make, an opportunity that arises, something that you step into that really has the opportunity to, or the ability to change things for you. And it could be a drastic shift. And even if it's not something that you consciously decide to do, like you're not necessarily pursuing personal development or spiritual development or enlightenment or whatever, chances are you might have some kind of experience that completely shifts things just absolutely out of nowhere. It could shift the way that you see the world, the way that you believe things work, what is real and true and what isn't. Like, so there's kind of like this energy of like a major shakeup. And the trouble with that is like, so people, we speak highly of enlightenment, and a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, they want to learn and to grow and to become enlightened and have increased levels of awareness and consciousness, but it's not easy. It's not easy to go through it. It can be like a messy, difficult kind of situation because it requires us to let go of everything that we think that we know. We can't be tied to anything. We have to be able to be open to new information, and some of those things we're not necessarily going to be able to rectify or really fully understand. So sometimes there is a certain level of trust that we just have to know that there is meaning, even if we can't logically make sense of it, that kind of like intuitive side of things. But it's not just that. It's not just being open to these new possibilities and new perspectives and letting go of the things that would limit us from being open. But it's like, once we do come to certain realizations, and it could even just be something as profound as like, I don't know what I think I know, or what I thought I know is not right. And you can't necessarily explain why, and you don't necessarily know, you don't necessarily have answers for whatever questions, but it's like a major shift. The shift has started. So you might find yourself having your core values completely shaken, or your perspective or your beliefs about how the world works and your place in the world, maybe even your gifts, your purpose, your connection to others, opportunity to birth something new for yourself in whatever way that makes sense to you. But it's not just about experiencing that kind of activation and accepting this new perspective, but it takes a long time to integrate it. It's not a process that can be rushed. It's not an easy process because everything can be kind of like turned on its head. So if you're in a position where you feel like there are some major pivotal shifts, it could be something as simple as just your view on relationships, and the way that you've been participating in relationships, and the way people have been treating you and you've been treating other people. Like, that could maybe be totally turned on its head, and you have a completely different approach. And maybe that means that there are certain individuals that you align with that you never thought you would, and other people that you thought were the be all end all, and you realize like maybe they're not the healthiest. That's just an example, but it could be like really core shifts in important areas of your life. And so if you feel like things are being shaken up and you're coming to these new realizations, and they come up even spontaneously without you necessarily trying or soliciting that kind of experience, it's just being gentle with yourself and knowing that like that it takes a lot of work. It's not an easy situation. It can be messy. There are feelings involved. There's a lot that it takes to just fully integrate that and to make the most of that energy and to find your own way through it. And it's something that just, you have to take it day by day, step by step, feel your way through it. So try not to be hard on yourself. Don't get discouraged. Just, kind of keep on keeping on. And yeah, but the neat thing is it's like there's this very palpable kind of sense of opportunity for some big kind of shift, and it feels good. So this could be the excitement that I was picking up on. Maybe there is something that you're working on, or maybe something that's meaningful to you that you're excited about, that is maybe tied to the divine plan, your purpose, and maybe that's what kind of brings about this awakening or this activation. But very neat energy. So we're going to pull your tarot cards. So your first card is the Queen of Cups. Just move it up so I have room for more later. Okay. Your second card is Temperance. Okay. Whew, that one jumped right out. And it's on the floor, of course. Okay, your third card is the Star. Oh, that one came out very quickly. And your fourth card is the Magician. Wow. All right. Gosh. Okay, and then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Two of Pentacles. Oh, I feel like I have to sneeze. My goodness. All right, Pisces. So this is definitely mirroring the same vibe. Like there's some depth, there is some major power here, opportunity to be tapped into. So starting out, I'm just taking in all of these cards, like the fact that your last 3 cards were all major arcana. So it seems like coming into the month of March, you really are being encouraged to take some time to really connect with yourself on an emotional level. Like check in. I think like maybe especially if you've had a lot going on, if your energy has been scattered in a bunch of different directions, or even if there's just a bunch of new stuff that's been going on, like that you're trying to integrate. So keeping in mind, like anytime that you're coming across new information, any kind of learning, if you've got a new job that you're trying to learn, if you are, meeting new people and learning about them, like the more variety you have in the day-to-day, the more of your effort and attention goes into trying to learn and grasp and integrate that information. And so it can be a lot. And so I think the key is touching base with yourself, making sure that you're taking time to check in with your body, maybe ground yourself, disconnect from kind of the other stuff that's going on, and turn inward and get a sense of what you're feeling, right? So it's like the sensations that you experience. If you've got excitement going on, like what is that connected to? What does that mean to you? How can you harness that to align with what's most important to you? And that goes for every single emotion. I think just really like taking inventory of what you're experiencing, what is good and how you can channel that into more. And maybe the things that don't feel so good, or the things that are a bit challenging, what that's telling you about your current situation, about the decisions that you're making, about what aligns and what doesn't. And the sense that I'm getting is like areas that maybe you might need to take your power back. But it's trusting that you can step into your emotions, step into emotional awareness, experience those feelings without being lost to them and without being overcome. So it's having a good level of stability that you're not going to be totally swept away by whatever you feel, but you can. The thing that just came to mind is like, what do they call it in meditation? Like the observer, to be the observer. They usually say of your thoughts and your experiences, but also your feelings. And so if emotion and depth of emotion is something that feels difficult or can be really overwhelming for you, I think it's a point of just maybe using your power of observation to step back from whatever it is that you're experiencing, especially if it's a challenging or very like intense emotion. Being able to kind of take a look at it from a big picture view, something that's less personal, and then using that level of awareness to kind of start delving into it. So if the other thing that just came to mind is it's kind of like if someone is drowning, you don't jump into the water with them, right? And that's what they usually say about helping other people and supporting other people. It's like you can't help somebody or support somebody by jumping in to their emotions with them, right? It's like you got to throw them the life preserver, and they need to accept it, and then it's like a partnership, right? But it's also the same kind of goes with yourself, is like diving into your emotions doesn't mean just becoming totally overwhelmed by them. It's doing whatever you need to do to get enough space from that feeling of overwhelm that you can understand and accept them for what they are, so that you're not resisting them, but also so that you can trust that you have the strength and the stability to recognize, feel, and accept the emotion, but to move through it in such a way that you don't get stuck in it, and you're able to ascertain what it's telling you. What is that emotion telling you? Like that is your strength this month. And using those feelings and using those feelings as markers for your life experiences and the things that are important to you, and seeing what you can gather, what kind of new perspective can you get. And that might be also with this new life, right? Like maybe, especially if there are tired old cycles that have deep emotional connections to you, maybe there's something waiting to be discovered there. And maybe if you can empower yourself to connect with your emotions and use them as a guide to determine what aligns in your life and what doesn't, especially if it's connected to your purpose in the greater scheme of things. I think that's going to be a worthy investment of your time and attention. And it's also empowering for you too, to be able to have a good relationship to your emotions, because I find like with highly sensitive people and people with great depth of emotion, we're often kind of taught that we're too much, and to kind of lessen that emotional pull, or to disconnect from it, or to I don't want to say shut off, but it's like to kind of deny it, right? Because it's not seen as valuable. And that could also mean that if you experience really deep emotions, you haven't necessarily learned or been taught or coached on how to approach those, how to handle them, how to observe them, how to validate them and move through them in a healthy way. And so perhaps all you ever knew was to become totally overwhelmed and to get stuck in those really heavy emotions. And maybe that's been keeping you from really understanding why those emotions are coming up and what they're trying to tell you. Because it's not bad. It's not bad to have feelings. Like they are a very important way of making decisions and kind of coming to new levels of awareness. So it could be that there's just some emotional healing going on, and maybe there's some information there that's just waiting to be found that's going to spark a huge moment of realization. And it might not feel pretty to come to that realization and all the changes that could potentially come in as a result of that. But it seems like that's where you're in your power. And this also kind of speaks to your intuition and your connection to your inner self, and also connection to others. And Cups is all about happiness and love and fulfillment. So it kind of seems like there's some real treasure to be found, and happiness and kind of freedom to be found when you're able to just lean into these emotions and use them to help you, instead of being afraid of them, shutting off from them, or just seeing them as, strictly an emotional experience and nothing more. And the challenge is going to be keeping everything in balance. So it's kind of like being grounded and being emotional, keeping that in balance, not becoming too grounded to the point where you invalidate your own emotions and your experience and what can be learned, not delving so deeply into your emotions that that's all there is, and that kind of derails you. Balancing our dark and our light, and so that could be a major theme for you this month, especially if you're having new experiences, especially if you're excited, if there's new opportunity, you're ready to kind of start connecting with this reinvigorated energy. Maybe there's something, a project that you want to start. It could be a friendship or a relationship that you want to bring in, or you've just connected with that you want to give, more time and effort to. This could manifest in any different way, but it's basically like you might find that it's hard to strike that balance. And that's natural. That's a part of life. Like, it's very difficult to walk the middle path, and we're always going to be fluctuating from one side to the other. Sometimes those fluctuations are going to be more pronounced between like the dark and the light. But really, like, that is how we navigate life. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And so there are a lot of really valuable experiences to be found, even in those fluctuations. All we can do is try to balance everything out in a way that's healthy for us. And that requires this emotional awareness and stability, emotional intelligence in terms of your relationship with yourself, but also to others, to really be able to balance out that energy and to find harmony. So maybe you've got too much on your plate. Maybe your energy is scattered. Maybe you're having a hard time keeping all of those balls in the air. So if you are feeling as though that's a struggle. It's like, I think it's important not to judge yourself, because that's part of the learning experience. We came here to learn and grow, and inevitably, whether we want to or not, we're going to have those experiences. So if you are struggling with that, I think it's important to keep in mind that it does seem to be part of your healing, right? And so there is a purpose for it. Obviously, there's a need to be able to acknowledge and accept our light and our dark, the things that come easily and that we enjoy, and the things that we struggle with and that aren't so enjoyable, and to really just be able to accept that that's a natural, normal part of life, not to judge ourselves for it, not to be avoidant of it, but to work with what we've got, work with things as they come, and trust that we have all of the resources available to us to learn and grow and work through it. And we don't have to be perfect, right? It's progress, not perfection. With the Two of Pentacles here at the bottom of the deck in the underlying energy, it seems like maybe this whole balance thing has been a major theme for you. Maybe it's something you struggled with in the past. Maybe you felt like you kind of mastered it and you had a certain level of harmony and stability, and you were kind of on the straight and narrow. And maybe the events of this month, or maybe leading into this month, maybe this awakening, these kind of new experiences, this opportunity, maybe it throws you off balance because you've got a whole bunch of new information to integrate, or you have new experiences or new people that you're trying to make room for, right? So when things are simple, it's more easy to keep things in balance, especially if we have a routine, schedules, all that kind of stuff. But the more that comes into our life, especially if they're important things that require our time and attention, the more difficult it is to balance things. And we can't use the same approach to every situation. So one kind of approach that might work for example, if you're single, does not work if you've got a significant other or a family, right? So it's like the more there is to consider, the more complex kind of working through to find a balance is. And I'm not oversimplifying one versus the other. It's just an example of like, there are different approaches for different kind of situations. And if you're struggling with balance, that also has a lot to do with value, what's important to us, what we want to spend our time and energy on. And it can be assessing priorities in terms of if you've got all of these things competing for your time and attention that you're trying to keep into balance, but there are certain things that are really, truly important to you that you feel like you don't have enough time for because less important things, or things that don't necessarily align, are taking up your time, then it might be time to revise like what your priorities are, what you're going to be focusing on. And so whatever kind of experiences you're having in this, in terms of this balance, it's meant to help heal you. It's meant to help you become aware of any kind of wounds, any kind of challenges, maybe the things that don't quite align with you, maybe things that you have absorbed and, things that need to be let go of. But it's, about healing and release and having hope that things are going to work out for you, right? And this is also very much connected to our divine plan, right? The star card, and not giving up hope just because things feel difficult or things are challenging. And I'm not saying that this is going to be a difficult month for you by any means, but it's knowing that things happen for a reason. We're here for a reason. We have a purpose. We're meant to learn certain things. And to just know that whatever struggles you come up against, it's helping you, right? Even if it's difficult, because like I said, this integration can be really difficult. Enlightenment sounds wonderful, but it really can completely turn your world on its head. And that is not an easy thing to manage emotionally, logistically. It really requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of attention and intention. And it's just trusting that this is a part of the process, that this is for your highest good. This is the path that you're meant to be on. And it's knowing that you have the strength to overcome, and that there is always hope, right? So whether things are good or whether things are challenging, everything is unfolding as it should. 'Cause, 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 And there's something else I was going to say. Maybe it'll come back to me. I had it in mind and then I lost it. So I'll wait and see. Maybe it'll come back to me. But the highest possible outcome for this month is the Magician, which is all about, it's like the ultimate balance, right? Because the Magician has, so when the suits in tarot, the 4 suits, the Magician is basically like the master of all. So he has the ability to, you know, manage his emotions. He has the ability to harness his creativity and inspiration. He has the ability to harness, you know, the practical side of things in terms of taking solid action and effort and putting in effort and achieving goals in a practical, physical sense. And then also he has the power to harness, you know, so he can harness the power of his thoughts, of his beliefs, his perception, his communication, his ability to influence his world through all of the senses, all of those skills. He's able to use all of them and balance them appropriately in order to manifest. And I say he just because it's a man on the card, but this is not it can apply to you, male or female, no matter what. But yeah, it's a very powerful energy of being able to balance the strong qualities and use them all to your advantage in not only determining what it is that you're trying to create and move toward, but assessing how you're going to get there, or being open to the opportunities that are presented to you and working your way through it. But it's basically just being able to use all of the skills that are available to you in harmony to manifest whatever it is that you want. And so it's like, it's kind of giving me the sense that however this month looks for you, whatever you experience, however these energies show up and resonate for you, if they do, that to lean into it and to really kind of try and flow with it and keep in mind the challenges and how you can overcome and like keep the hope, keep the faith, and the belief that there's a bigger plan unfolding, then it's got the potential to help you really take this balance from the 2 of Pentacles to Temperance, and then really be able to take that and ground it into your reality and to be able to attract. It's also like understanding law of attraction as well. And maybe you are like a powerful manifestor, or you started to realize that, you know, becoming clear on what's important to you and having that in your awareness and having that as a priority has helped you to connect with the people or the places or the things that are aligned with your end goal. So maybe you've already kind of started to realize that, and this is just helping you kind of refine. And if not, if this is a new energy for you, then it's like you might be introduced to your power, the power of manifestation, that your ability to take a thought and an intention, take inspired action on that in the world around you, and to see how you have the opportunity to impact your environment and how, you know, energetically, physically, like on all levels, that you can bring things into your existence. So I think that's a really promising kind of outcome, like potential for this month. There is huge potential this month. And it's all very, whether it's difficult or not, with like, I only say that because of this whole integration of spontaneous awakening that might be difficult. Some it might kind of throw you off, and any challenges with balance. But it does have a kind of like soft energy to it. Like it's going to be something really, really good. I don't know what it is, but it feels good. So we'll get clarifiers. We'll start with the Queen of Cups. Does not want to come out. Okay, we have the 9 of Wands. Let's see for Temperance. Oh my. That was an explosion of cards. Your clarifiers are not playing nice. They don't want to come out, so Let's see what I can do for you here. All right, let's try again. Temperance. Let's clarify this card. Oh my gosh. Wow. Temperance. Clarified by Temperance. Well, I don't think that needs any explanation. But I do love this Temperance card. That is my absolute favorite. Okay, let's get you a clarifier for the Star. Let's see what that has to say. Again. Okay, maybe your cards, it's not that they don't want to talk. Maybe they're just very picky. Seven of Cups. And finally, we'll get you a clarifier for the Magician. Two of Swords. And Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Okay. So with the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck, clarifying the Two of Pentacles, the Six of Cups often has to do, it can have to do with our childhood, our inner child, our upbringing. It can have to do with, you know, the happiness and joy we experienced as children, reconnecting to that, finding room for that in our lives. But it can also be the emotional implications of the things that we experienced in childhood. And it's kind of like a nostalgic energy where it's the feel for me, like whenever this particular card comes up for me, it's always about revisiting experiences from my past, especially ones that are connected to, you know, maybe the emotional wounds or the struggles that I had as a child growing up. And it's being willing to kind of revisit those feelings, revisit those experiences, and mother yourself almost, like from an adult perspective, get a more mature, bigger picture view. So now that you are who you are and you've had the experiences that you've had, if you reflect on situations from childhood, whether positive or negative, you have a different view of it because you have the wealth of experience from all of the things that you've gone through since then. And whether it's positive or negative, especially if it's negative, right, you can reframe it with a greater level of understanding and how that experience shaped you, what you learned from it. And it has a lot to do with healing as well. So maybe that was part of you balancing things out, is like reflecting on your past experiences, past relationships. Like I said, it could be inner child, but being willing to accept the emotional implications, whether positive or negative. If it's positive, to accept it and to appreciate it, but to be willing to move on, right? So it's not trying to hold on to the past, not limiting yourself, but recognizing that that played an important part, and it can be something near and dear to your heart, but you can move on from it. And if it was a wound, it's recognizing what you've learned from it, taking the lesson, and not committing yourself to being stuck in that energy or at the mercy of that energy. So maybe that has some kind of, if I don't know how that resonates for you, but maybe that has some kind of meaning in terms of what it is that you've been balancing out. And with the Nine of Wands coming here with the Queen of Cups, it could be, it could be that you're really guarded, and maybe guarded with other people on an emotional level in terms of letting them in, expressing your emotions. It can also be feeling comfortable expressing love or affection. It could be being guarded about engaging in a deeper level of connection and trust. And this can also be like intuitive, like psychic awareness. There could be some kind of guard. Yeah, maybe you've just been funny, like keeping your cards close to your chest in one way or another. It could be in terms of your interactions and relationships with others and how you show up, but it could also be your relationship with yourself. Maybe you haven't been necessarily like trusting yourself, trusting your emotions. Maybe you've been kind of hiding behind a wall and not connecting, like I was saying before. So that's really kind of telling me that when I said that your strength this month is going to be in your emotions and recognizing what they have to tell you. It's maybe especially any areas where you feel particularly guarded or you're particularly concerned about being vulnerable. That could have some really important information for you, something important, and like especially in terms of healing. And so yeah, temperance coming out under temperance is just, yeah, we don't need to explain that, do we? That is really awesome. I really love that because this is just a huge theme for you. And the fact that you had 2 major arcana after that means you're going through some major energies, and there's the opportunity for there to be great transformation. I think if you are willing to lean into that, if that's something that's important to you, if you want to kind of make the most of it, like this balancing everything out. And it's also about alchemy. So I must say, it's about when you've got difficulty thrown your way, or if you have, maybe difficult experiences from your past, emotional things that are coming up, that are triggering you, or that you're struggling with. It's recognizing that you can transform that into something beautiful, right? It doesn't have to be easy, and you don't have to dishonor whatever happened to you to turn it into something better. But it's basically like taking those experiences and fortifying yourself and transforming it from something that might have broken you to something that's actually strengthening you. And so you can see, this is why I love this card. So the butterflies here symbolize transformation. So you have the power to transform yourself based on how you temper your life experiences. And so she's got a chalice of water and a chalice of fire, and she's combining them perfectly enough that the fire evaporates the water and forms a rainbow. So it's basically saying, like, you have the opportunity to balance out these things and to find your own harmony, to find your own inner harmony, to find the balance that's right for you. And that the process of acknowledging and trying to balance out this dark and light, this challenge, the emotion and the passion, it has the opportunity to transform you. And so that's the challenge for you this month. The challenge is to kind of lean into that and allow yourself to connect with the opportunity for transformation, which really goes hand in hand with this awakening and like activation. Is that might be what really throws you off your balance. It might be this is the balance, is integrating this new information into your current experience and recognizing how that changes everything, what you're letting go of. And that actually goes hand in hand with the channeled message that I had about making way, right? Because that's really what it's about. It's recognizing that there's new stuff on the way in that needs to be integrated. There needs to be room for it. And there needs to be stuff tossed, right? Anything that interferes with the new that's coming in kind of has to go. So you've got something new coming in that you just need to be able to balance out. And so that could very well be the challenge. And that may show up in any area of your life. With the 7 of Cups coming up under the star, I think that's really encouraging, because it's basically saying, like, there are so many opportunities for emotional fulfillment. And normally this is a card of having a lot of options and maybe not having clarity on what is most important to you, like needing to get clarity, maybe needing to come back down to the ground, because there is definite importance in dreaming and being imaginative, but we can also it can become kind of an escapist type of energy. But that's not the vibe that I'm getting now, especially in combination with the star. It's kind of like a dare to dream, and like anything is possible. There are so many opportunities for emotional fulfillment. And as you're going through these struggles and you're releasing old things and integrating new information and coming to a new level of awareness, especially in terms of your emotions and the areas for growth, that you have the opportunity to kind of refresh or have a new perspective on. That's related to your healing. It's related to your divine purpose. And there's so many opportunities for love and happiness and fulfillment. And it's kind of like the impression that I get is that if you can kind of balance those energies out and get into that space where you really are able to make use of your emotions and your emotional awareness and let that guard down with yourself first and foremost, then it's like you're setting yourself up to really connect with opportunities for a deeper level of happiness and love and fulfillment. It's kind of just waiting to be chosen That's kind of the way that I feel. And with the Magician here and the Two of Swords is about having a decision to make. And it can sometimes be about being aware that something needs to be changed, or aware that a decision needs to be made and not quite feeling ready to make that decision. It can be avoidant as well. It can also be like really getting into your head and overthinking. So especially when it comes to the Magician, and the Magician is being about manifestation, there's a certain level, it's a strong, confident energy for sure, because it's recognizing the power that you hold to affect your life, and how the actions that you take impact everything around you, and what you put out comes back to you in one way or another. And it's being able to balance that out and harness that power to create and to manifest and to draw in what you're looking to experience, people, places, things, all of that. And so this kind of tells me that you don't want to get too much in your head. You don't want to get too analytical about how you do it, or how that's going to happen, or the logics or logistics of it, because it's not a solely logical thing. It's not necessarily even something that we can perceive. It's something that we just have to be honest, or sorry, we have to be open to. We have to be trusting that we can find our way. And what I love about the Two of Swords specifically is that she's got two swords. She has to drop one because she's blindfolded, right? So in order to take off her blindfold, to see the path in front of her, to maybe get more information that she needs to make her decision, she's going to have to drop a sword. How does she know what sword to drop? It's kind of like being at a fork in the road. How do you know what direction to go in? There's a certain amount, like you can say that it's chance or a choice or a guess, but it's also recognizing that if you don't have, for example, a specific sense to rely on, like sight or vision, if you don't know what something is going to look like, or how something's going to unfold, or how to do it, it doesn't mean you can't do it, right? If you have a choice to make, sometimes you have to make the choice from your heart. Sometimes you have to connect to your gut feeling, your instincts, your intuition, what feels right. And it's also about committing to the decision and seeing it through, not overthinking it. And it's like one decision's wrong and one is right, and it's a matter of picking the right one. It's knowing that whatever decision you make, it's the right one for you. And committing to that and keeping that in mind, regardless of what kind of experience you have making that decision, because the idea is you are going to have the experience that you need to have, regardless of what decision you make. And of course, the outcomes can be different, but all you can do is connect with yourself, pay attention to your intuition, and you just kind of have to have like blind faith in yourself and hope, right? Hope that things will turn out. And so, yeah, it's kind of like maybe your beliefs about what is possible, what you're capable of, are really going to be challenged this month. And that's what's throwing things out of balance. I'm so curious now. Okay, so we're going to finish with affirmations. I don't need to find my purpose. My purpose will find me. Wow. That's pretty awesome. That goes hand in hand with this whole idea of everybody having a purpose, everyone playing a part in this divine plan. And maybe this is a good month to connect to whatever your purpose is. And maybe that's what the gravitational pull is about. Who knows? There's so many ways this could unfold for you. When I feel blocked, emotionally distressed, or overwhelmed, I turn to my breath. So I think that's really good. Finding a way to ground yourself, find your zen, connect to your body, especially if you're in your head, if you're in your emotions, if things are kind of feeling too much to bear. That's a really good way to handle. Then we've got, I choose to reinterpret my fears with a more loving perspective. And that kind of reminds me of this, like revisiting things from the past. Those could be, it could be wounds, it could be fears, any way that something, that things, experiences have shaped you. And it's just finding a different perspective. And this could also have to do with this. There's so much new energy. There's opportunity to connect with all this new perspective. So I really love that. And it's like taking your power back from anything that's challenging or unsettling, anything that's keeping you guarded and blocked off from yourself and or even others. Oh goodness, this fell on the floor. And then we've got, my happiness can be measured by my level of faith in love. And there we go. And the star card is all about hope and faith. You need hope and faith in terms of, manifesting, trusting your ability to navigate, trusting your ability to deal with your emotions and to uncover what they're trying to tell you about your life and what's important to you, what direction to take. So yeah, this seems like a really good month for personal alignment in one way or another. And it seems like there's a lot of opportunity to connect with some bright new energy, some new perspectives. There might be a little bit of challenge, but the key theme seems to be balance. And I think that's all anyone can really kind of try to do, is just balance out whatever you're experiencing. So I am going to leave your reading there, Pisces. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful to you. If you did, please feel free to like and share the video. Definitely leave me a comment. If you haven't already, you can head on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, take a look at my other readings, and subscribe to my channel so you have access to new videos as they're posted. But it has been an absolute pleasure to read for you. I figured I would start with you first since it is your birthday season. We're at the end of the astrological year. So I'm going to work my way backwards, and you got priority this time. So again, happy birthday, Pisces. Happy Pisces season. I hope you make the most of it and that this is a wonderful, transformative month for you with all this major arcana. That's big energy. So I think it could be a very beautiful month, and I look forward to reading for you again in the future. In the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.